got stops on the train yesterday, which was weird.
Oh, was that?
Yeah.
Is that true? Actually,
Did that genuinely happen?
Yeah. Some guy was like, "Are you on the Blood Red podcast? I've just been speaking to my son about you."
This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo.
Hello everybody, it is Friday, it is the Blood Red podcast and we are back with plenty to talk about today, it must be said. We're going to chat a little bit about Harry Wilson, transfers, chiefly those made by Liverpool's rivals, the Community Shield, a little look back at Liverpool's 3-1 win against Lyon, where the Reds look back in business. First of all though, I'll introduce the guys we have in the room today. Football is back, the curtain is about to be raised in the Community Shield, but also Ian Doyle is back. Doyle, how are you doing?
I'm a little bit tired, but okay. Lovely to see you. Love to see everybody again.
Excellent. And of all the places you've been on your pre-season tour, where was the nicest? Geneva?
Geneva was very picturesque, but very dull. Having been there before, I'd never been to New York before, so I was quite impressed with that.
So
I've heard it's all right.
More than you intended to see.
Yeah, a little bit more. So yeah. Let's not go down that road. Yeah, saw a bit more of it than I thought. Boston was lovely. South Bend was in America. Yeah.
Not much to say about South Bend. Sorry if we got any South Bend listeners in.
It's a nice enough place, but it doesn't quite have the history of the other two places.
No,
basically,
no.
It's an up and coming. It regards itself as a 21st century city, so it's aiming high. Excellent.
It sounds like you read the literature.
I did, yeah.
South Bend. We also have Connor Dunn. Connor, how you been doing? A nice day out yesterday.
Yeah, at the cricket, I'm enjoying it. I'm as excitable as ever about just about everything, Sean. So
very glad to hear it. We also have Paul Gorsty. What have you been up to?
Not a lot. I don't know how to follow that, to be honest. We're probably best cracking on.
We will do that. We'll do exactly that. Doyley, we'll start with you and we'll talk about Harry Wilson. We've all seen that screamer against Lyon, stunning goal. Klopp was speaking after the game about Wilson, his future, and saying Liverpool have got to do the right thing for the club, but they've also got to do the right thing for the player. What exactly is the right thing for club and player? Is it the same thing or is it different things?
Well, I would imagine that the best thing for the club would be getting a load of money for him if he's not going to play that often, if they don't think he's going to play that often. And for the player, it's obviously the best thing is to actually go and play somewhere where he's got a chance of playing. Now, that's entirely up to Jurgen Klopp, I think, whether he thinks he's seen enough over the last 3 or 4 weeks for Wilson to have a chance of making it at Liverpool. I mean, it's been interesting because he's obviously played for nearly all of the summer without any of the main leading players, and he did okay. Scored the goal against Borussia Dortmund in South Bend.
Lovely place.
It is. Yeah, 21st century city, and whether or not Wilson's going to be a 21st century player, we're about to find out. Very good segue.
Yeah.
Thank you. But anyway, going back to the point. Yeah, he's done okay, but it's only been this week that he's been able to train and play alongside the other players who he probably would be playing alongside if he was playing. I know Sadio Mane's not there, but he's got Roberto Firmino and Mohamed Salah back, and Xherdan Shaqiri and Naby Keita as well. So he was put in a position on the left wing which against Lyon on Wednesday, which he doesn't normally play, and Klopp admitted that afterwards. But he said that he kind of tweaked the formation a bit to make sure that he was felt a little bit more involved. And he hit the post. He drew a good save from the keeper. Then, of course, he scored that cracking goal, which, Klopp said afterwards, it was just Harry Wilson, wasn't it? We've seen it enough times for Derby last season. So they know he's capable of that. It's interesting that all of those 3 chances, certainly the latter 2 were when he moved into a central position, kind of coming off the wing. And that's kind of where a lot of the Liverpool players like to play those. So Liverpool do need an option out wide, somebody who's got a little bit of pace about him, and that's probably one thing that Harry Wilson doesn't have. But the other thing as well is if they do let him go, and it doesn't look as though Ryan Kemp perhaps is quite, I don't think Jurgen Klopp believes he's quite at the same level as Harry Wilson. They're going to have to go off and buy somebody, aren't they? And it's, what is it? The transfer deadline's now less than a week away. Yeah. So it would have to take a big bid from somebody. Well, you're looking at £25 million for Liverpool to even consider letting him go. But it's got so late now that I wouldn't be surprised that Liverpool went, you know what, you're here, you know how we play, you know the approach that we've got, you know all about the club, you've played alongside nearly all of the players now, just crack on and let's see what you can do, certainly until January.
Doyley's touched on it there, Connor. He excelled at Derby, did Wilson. We all saw last season how well he did there, but he's 22 now. He's a full 6 years older than Harvey Elliott, who also was doing pretty well against Lyon. Liverpool seem to have ruled out a loan move for him, so it's kind of stick or twist time for the Reds in terms of keeping him or selling him. How do you see it playing out in the next week?
Yeah, as Doyley said there, really, I think it just with literally 7 days to go just might be a little bit late for him to go anywhere. If Liverpool could get £25 million from him, I think, that's a really decent amount of money for a player that hasn't actually really played in the Premier League. But, he's obviously a talented player and he played really well in the Championship. I'd like to see Liverpool keep hold of him, to be fair, because they need a little bit of an option. He He can clearly score from outside of the box, which maybe a few of the Liverpool midfielders don't really have in their locker. And yeah, I think he gives something a little bit extra, and I'd like to see how he does in the Premier League. Lyon on the top side, they certainly, went out a pretty strong team as well. So, I thought we played well, and it kind of seemed a little bit like his audition, playing alongside Salah and playing alongside Firmino, and just seeing how he would get on out there. And I think he did all right.
You've got to bear in mind he's only played 25 minutes for Liverpool ever. And that was 2.5 years ago at Plymouth. So he came on as a substitute in that game. He's a completely different player now. So it will be, as Connor's just said, I don't think alone it's going to be happening. No. And I agree. I think he should have a chance.
I do.
Ghosty, where do you stand? Because 25 minutes, if that's all he's played this season, surely you got the checker trade. You'd hope for more progress than there was last season, at least in the domestic cup competitions. He's going to get a bit more game time, surely, isn't he? And at this stage, what he could learn from Salah, Mane and Co in training is going to be more than he could learn elsewhere, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But I think it's been a bit of an inconclusive experiment, if I'm honest. I know the whole idea was to see how we performed in pre-season, and then they'd make a decision on him. And Klopp said himself after the final game that no decision had been taken. For every goal that he scores against Lyon, there's 2 or 3 incidents where you kind of realise he's just not at that quite top level at this stage. There was an incident I recall against Sevilla where Ben Woodburn's charging down the right-hand flank, and all yesterday was lay him in, and he decides to cut inside, shoot, and the shot gets blocked, and the chance comes to nothing. And just wonder how whether he's at that level to perform for a club with as lofty ambitions as Liverpool, if I'm honest. I think maybe giving him 20-minute cameos here and there, knowing that he can pull something out the bag like he did against Lyon, is always kind of worthwhile having in your armoury. Someone who can just produce something like that out of nothing. Because let's face it, Liverpool don't have too many players who can hammer them in from range since Philippe Coutinho left. So he's got that on his side, and he's also got the fact that time is running down. And if Liverpool were to sell him, then they'd have to look at bringing someone in the market, and I couldn't even hazard a guess as to who that might be at this stage. So I think I agree with Colin, actually. With a week left, it may be a little bit too late to sell him. So looks like he's at least got another 6 months at Liverpool. So we'll see how he goes.
I think he'll play at some point against Man City on Sunday.
Yeah?
I don't think he'll start, but I think he'll get on. I think Klopp may as well, because don't forget he did play at Wembley in May in the playoff final, where to be honest, like most of the Derby team that day, he wasn't particularly great until the last 20 minutes where suddenly came alive and things started happening. So we'll just have to wait and see, but I would be amazed if he didn't get any minutes at Wembley.
Well, we shall see. Moving on to other transfer business that Liverpool's rivals have conducted so far. Spurs added a bit of bite and steel with Ndombele. Pepe's now been confirmed that he's going to Arsenal. United have brought in Wan-Bissaka and look set to potentially splurge a bit further and bring in some more recruits. Rodri obviously has gone to City. Now, Connor Dunn, this sunny Friday afternoon, a piece will be dropping on the Echo website where you make the argument that not one of these would get into Liverpool's first team. Talk us through that one.
Yeah, you can go and read it, but I've dismissed every single Premier League team's signings for this transfer window because none of them will get into Liverpool's team, and that is that. No, but basically, you can argue a case. Pepe, he's not going to displace Salah, Firmino. He's not going to displace Mane. He would be an incredible backup. We've seen him. He scored second most goals in Ligue 1 last year, and only behind Mbappe. And he's clearly a tidy player, but £70 million for what would essentially be a backup and sitting on the bench, never going to happen. And Ndombele, I think the Lyon manager himself said last year that he lacks concentration in the final third. That's maybe, you could argue that's what Liverpool need like a holding midfielder. Who's going to displace? Not displacing a Champions League winning captain. Fabinho looks world class. Wijnaldum suits that system, plays so well. I just don't see anybody getting in. Rodri, a similar defensive midfielder, and in similar mould to Fabinho, Manchester City needed to buy him because Fernandinho, he's not going to be playing in the Community Shield because he's injured, and that's why they needed to replace him. He's aging, he didn't play a lot of football last season. So, yeah, I just don't think any signing is getting into the starting 11 of Liverpool. So, there we go.
Gents, any takers to oppose that view?
I would like to say that I would say Lille have played a blinder with Pepe.
Yeah.
Where have they got 72 million for him?
Yeah.
And because almost half his goals were from the penalty spot.
Nine of them, yeah.
They played everybody against each other without anybody actually ever really being, certainly from what I've heard, being interested. No, Liverpool were never ever in for him, yet their name was still linked with him until the day that he actually signed for Arsenal. So they've done well there of Lille. In answer to your question, to be honest, a lot of the players I've not seen play. So I can't really, give you that much of an opinion. It may be further down the line in a couple of years that some of them end up becoming decent players, but at the moment I almost don't think it's not that Liverpool fans aren't asking for players to improve the first team and go straight in.
No.
What they're asking for is players who perhaps strengthen the depth. And I'd imagine, there are 2 or 3 of the players you just mentioned then that would certainly be able to come in and get into the squad. But then Liverpool aren't going to spend £72 million on a squad player. They're not going to spend, what was it, on Wan-Bissaka? Yeah, exactly.
45 for Wan-Bissaka, 55 for Ndombele.
So that kind of money,
serious cash.
Given the fact that they've spent, 50-odd million on Keita, 65 on Alisson, 75 on Van Dijk, another 40 on Fabinho. They spent a lot of money in the last 18 months, 2.5 years. So I think they've won the Champions League. That kind of suggests that they've done that right. And yeah, I think none of these players would have come in and improved the first team, but they definitely would improve the squad.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
Well, coming at it from another perspective, we'll start with you on this, Ghosty. Who has done the best? Who's won this transfer window? Do you think of
you don't get anything for winning the transfer window.
You certainly don't.
You can't, and you only know whether you've won it until about 2 or 3 years down the line.
It's a new trophy, isn't it? Signing players is a new trophy.
Who won the 2016 transfer window? Who did Liverpool buy then? Who was it? Mane and
16.
Mane and Wijnaldum.
Yeah.
Karius.
Well, maybe not Karius then. Okay, well, Matip, there you go. They bought 3 Champions League winners. I would suggest that Liverpool won that transfer window.
But then
no one's going to give them that award 3 years down the line, are they?
No.
Liverpool got the reward by winning the Champions League. Sorry, I'm going off on one here.
Liverpool haven't won this season's Champions League transfer window trophy after with Harvey Elliott and Sepp van den Berg.
But what happens if they end up becoming brilliant players? Then in 10 years' time, so we go back and say, they won it there.
But if you look at Manchester City, and Connor said there that they're looking for a Fernandinho replacement long term, which is fair enough. He's 35, but he's still probably one of the best defensive mids in Premier League. But City just go and spend 60 million on another one anyway. These are the kind of sums that Liverpool can't compete with. If Liverpool spend 60 million on a player, he becomes the 3rd most expensive player in their history. Yeah. So Liverpool are never going to do that for someone who's going to be a backup player.
I think Rodri's top 6 most expensive Premier League signings ever.
Probably, yeah. The way the money's gone since Pogba signed for United, it's hard to keep up. But a few years ago, we all knew who the records were than me, but now we'd have to sit and evaluate them all. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen too much of Rodri. I know they kind of look at him in Spain as Sergio Busquets' long-term replacement in the Spanish team, and Guardiola said that they've got a top-class holding midfielder for the next decade. So you'd have to say that he knows his onions there, so he'll be a top player for them. And Ndombele's another one, seems to be highly rated. I know that was a very good Lyon team with plenty of players. Seems to be getting broken up slightly now with Fekir gone and Ndombele going to Tottenham. But I'm not overly concerned with the business that Liverpool's rivals are doing. I can't wait to see Pepe in the Premier League. All the hype about him, Liverpool were never in for him, really, as we know when we said, and we stuck to our guns through thick and thin when others were calling us this and that.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, my mentions were full of it, and you can tell you that. So I'm excited to see him, and these are the types of players who you want to see in the Premier League. So we'll see how they all get on, but I'm not envious of any of the business that Liverpool's rivals have done, if I'm honest.
Would you want to see the other Pepe in the Premier League? Centre-back?
Yeah, just for how great. Yeah,
get even Diego Costa back. That'd be great. Yeah.
That would spice things up a bit. Right then, moving on to the game on Sunday. Doyley, we'll start with you. How significant a match do you think this is for Liverpool and City, laying down a marker for the season, for the title battle to come?
The funny thing is, normally with the Community Shield, or the Charity Shield as it's known to old people like me, is that it normally just doesn't matter. But because of who's playing in it, and the situation, how close the battle was last season, how everyone expecting this season to come across, and partly because of Liverpool's pre-season and the way that went, is that I think this is like a game that everybody's reading into it. It's suddenly become an important match. I mean, what was the game last year? Community Shield?
Can't remember.
Chelsea City?
Yeah. And what score was it?
Oh, couldn't take penalties?
No, it's 2-0 to City. There you go, the fact that you can't remember. And Chelsea then lost that, but then ended up staying unbeaten till September or something like that. Yeah, they had a really good start to the season, and got to the League Cup final, won the Europa League, and finished 3rd. So you'd have to say Chelsea, good season. You can't really read too much into what happened in that particular game, but this one I think people will do because of those reasons that I've just said, and you're right, I think they'll both want to look to put down a mark. I mean, Jurgen Klopp was interesting because he kind of suggested when he did his press conference for the game on Monday, which seems like forever ago now, to be honest, but he said that it's a game where initially he was taken a bit by surprise by the fact that everyone was regarding it as a friendly. Somebody said, and he's like, I've only just found it out now. I just thought it was like a final because he's played the German equivalent, the Super Cup over there for Borussia Dortmund and won it twice both times against Pep Guardiola's Bayern Munich, by the way. So yeah, he was a bit taken aback by that, but he did say that, look, if we win, it's not going to change anything. If we lose, it's not going to change anything. But then a little bit later on, he did say that, kind of suggested we can't afford to get absolutely tonked by them, which I think is something that Liverpool don't want. And if Liverpool lose 2-1 against City on Sunday, it'll be like, most people will be like, so what in the Norwich game? But if Liverpool lose 3 or 4-0, then people will start talking. And that's something that they're going to look to avoid. But if they play like they did against Lyon, certainly going forward, they'll be doing a bit better than they have done for most of the summer.
Connor, how about you? Do you think this will tell us a fair bit about the season to come, or is it still far too early to be making judgments?
I think you've got to look at it like Mane's not going to be playing, is he? He's one world-class Liverpool player, and they're not going to be firing on all cylinders because there's such a lot on Norwich. They're going to want to lay down a mark in the first game of the Premier League, and it's going to be a case of, both teams will want to get one over on the other team. There's no mistake about it, just because of the nature of how last season played out. But I just don't think it's going to be the be all and end all or how the season is really going to go. I just think Norwich is just so much more important. And as you said, we can't remember the score of the game last year. It's just how it is, isn't it? But it's nice to see Liverpool at Wembley.
Yeah, very true. And Gorsty, it's very fair to say that Liverpool looked a lot sharper against Lyon than they had previously in pre-season. And if you look at who they played, certainly in America, the tests that Klopp set out for Liverpool there, it's a higher calibre of opposition than City in the pre-season programme they put together. So how do you see it going? Do you think Liverpool could almost spring a little bit of surprise on City?
I don't see why not. It's as Connor says, then it's difficult to remember what happened 12 months ago. But if Liverpool win it, you're certainly taking it as a scalp, aren't you? And it's another trophy in the cabinet, and it's you're hoping that they win the Super Cup, and then you can claim we've won 3 trophies in 3 months or 2 months. But yeah, I think you put the performance as the most important thing Sunday, because as Doyle says, if Liverpool ship 3 or 4 and it's a really miserable day, then you're going into that Norwich game with a bit of concern, a bit of trepidation, and there's going to be so many fans who are going to be in uproar, isn't there, before the ball's even being kicked. But I think if they make a good account of themselves and they're narrowly beaten, say 2-1 or 3-2, then I don't think too many will be overly concerned. So it's very much a pre-season in terms of results. Don't really matter, but performances do, even though a trophy's up for grabs. So I'd be happy to win it, but if they lose and play well, then I won't be too gutted going into that Norwich game in a week's time.
Dolly, what type of encounter do you think it'll be? I mean, last season in the league we saw 2 very fine margin, high level encounters. Do you think it'll be like that, or it might be a bit more kind of expansive and loose at this stage of the season?
It's hard to tell, really, to be honest. I mean, I must admit, I've obviously been following Liverpool. I don't know anything about Man City's summer programme. They lost to Wolves. I know that.
Junior Wolves and lost on penalties, beat West Ham, then they've played a Chinese team and a Japanese team, conceded against both.
They played West Ham?
Yeah.
Okay.
What score was that?
4-1, I think.
At the Asia Cup trophy or something.
Yeah, and to be honest, they flew out 2 days after they were supposed to because of an administration error.
Yeah,
it hasn't been the best pre-season ever for them either, really, to be fair. It's been a bit higgledy-piggledy, for want of a better word.
In answer to your question, what was the question again, sorry? What kind of game are you expecting? I genuinely don't know. I mean, there's every chance that both teams will go keep it a bit cagey. Because I think I'm right in saying you're allowed a lot more subs than normal in the Community Shield. That might be something we need to look at,
Something we should know.
Yeah, we should know, but we don't. Well, Liverpool haven't been in it for 13 years, so come on, we're not supposed to know these things, really, are we? The game's not for another 2 days as well. We'll know by the time the game starts, don't worry. But
you can read it on our live blog.
We'll make subs.
But the point being is that it won't be the real teams, as it were. I mean, both teams will go strong, but they'll be making changes, and they'll want to see. Both managers will want to probably try something else because it's the last chance for them to try things before the season starts. But they won't want to get beat. I can't see it being 0-0, but I can see it being quite tight. I can see the teams not going, hell for leather. So it would be a little bit more like the game at Anfield and the game at the Etihad last season. And I think I'm right in saying, thanks to our ace statistician Jed Ray, that City, if they win, it'll be the first time they've beaten Liverpool in consecutive competitive games since about 1937. So that's something for Liverpool to look to avoid.
Absolutely. Right then, like you just said, Doyle, potentially a strong team. We've hinted before, potentially Wilson could get a little bit of a run out. So let's pick our team. Keeper, go on, Steve. We'll start with you. We'll go around the room. Is it a simple case of Alisson is back?
It is, yeah. I know he dropped the clanger within his first 5 minutes, didn't he? But I think that's just a bit of ring rust. And if he's going to drop one in, then let it be pre-season. So yeah, Alisson over Mignolet.
The interesting thing about Alisson is that every time he makes a mistake, Did Liverpool just get him out
Just
there?
never
Get him
missed
out.
the
Yeah,
ball.
exactly.
It
Yeah.
He's
And
never
also-
made a mistake where it's actually cost Liverpool a game or
Yeah.
points. It's
was-
interesting.
Leicester was one where they won. United was one where they won.
Yeah.
Fulham. Oh yeah, they won that one as well.
Even
Yeah.
that was debatable. It was a 50-50,
That was
wasn't it? A bit of a
Van
mix-up.
Dijk as well. And the one the other night, I know it was only a friendly,
Yeah,
but
but
I
still.
must admit, after 5 minutes, you were thinking, oh, here we go again, you know. But
Another one.
exactly, yeah. But they pulled it out the fire, as it were, and by the end, they could have won by about 4 or 5, couldn't they?
Yeah.
I mean, Lyon did have a strong team out with a lot of more of their recognisable players, and Liverpool defensively struggled in those first 10 minutes. I mean, Joe Gomez was all over the place and wasn't helped by Lovren slicing one up in the air, and obviously we mentioned Alisson dropping one as well. But yeah, Alisson will be in goal. Mignolet, obviously, he made a mistake against Sporting Lisbon
Bruno Fernandes.
in New York, which was. But then weirdly, he had a very good summer. I thought he had quite.
Yeah.
He made some good saves and.
Typical Mignolet, that though. He's
Yeah,
very dependable and solid, and then just the odd clanger in
Well,
there,
it's
which
like
only people seem to remember.
Yeah, it's like you think, he's got done it again. Yeah,
With
so
the goalkeepers, they don't seem to need as much time to prepare in pre-season as the outfield players do. So Alisson's going to be back, he's going to be ready, he's going to be firing, so he's got to start, hasn't he?
and he made a mistake within 5 minutes. But yeah, he's going to play. He's going to play. Yeah.
Alisson in, Lonergan snubbed, not even mentioned. We'll
He can't
move
play
on.
anyway. He's not
Can he
registered
not?
as a player.
Ah.
Yeah, so
At least a little lap of honour or something for me. He's had a decent tour. Defence.
seen him play now.
Defence then, Dory, we'll start with you. Is the full-backs surely pick themselves? Centre-back dilemma?
You know, I don't know. Again, it depends what Jurgen Klopp wants to do, to be honest.
Do you think the Lyon game was a hint when he brought on Trent, Robertson, Matip and Van Dijk?
Well, that was the team that played the Champions League final, wasn't it? And I don't think any of the other players have done enough in the summer to suggest that they should be playing ahead of those 4. I know Gomez, I thought, did okay
He's
for the
argument,
most
isn't he?
part. For the most
Yeah.
part, but you know, what's Matip done wrong? Nothing. So he's quite loyal to his players. Well, he's very loyal to his players, as Jurgen Klopp, and he'll always pick players who are in form and players that he likes.
Yeah.
And well, let's be honest, he likes all the players, so he is going to pick the players who are in form. And Matip's done nothing to suggest he should be losing that jersey. Although, again, if they are making lots of subs, I'd imagine he'd be one that might make way in the second half at some point.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, obviously the partnership of Gomez and Van Dijk at the start of last season was just absolutely ridiculous. And going forward for the future, Gomez is Liverpool's future in the heart of defence, isn't he? And I personally would just like to see him get back and start the Premier League season with Gomez, because I think that partnership, the pace that Gomez offers over Matip, I think is something that he adds extra next to Van Dijk in the air. And I don't know, that for me it would be the pick.
I think I'm right in saying that last season, both games, it was Lovren and Van Dijk against Man City. Because it certainly was in the
Gomez was right back in
Yeah.
Anfield, and Lovren. I remember Lovren. In fact, Van Dijk was fuming with him. Found a few seconds when they're chasing an equaliser, and he decides to try and play a 70-yard pass with his weaker left foot, and it didn't reach Van Dijk, and he was absolutely furious. Remember that?
So I think whether or not that's going to play into Klopp's thinking. Well, no one's suggesting Lovren starting, by the way. So whoever does play, it will be different for City, a different kind of...
Like a new sign-in.
We're not going down that road. Not like a new signing, no. But yeah, it will be... Again, it's like... Normally you'd be looking at these games and going, well, let's have a few pointers towards the new season. How are we going to start against Norwich? But now it's like, no, this is the start of the season.
Absolutely.
We have to do something against City.
So we've got Trent, Robbo, Van Dijk, all agreed, and we've got one...
How do
Matip.
you think Trent did in the summer, by the way? I thought he was not massively brilliant.
Bit leggy, but he's young, isn't he? He's got no concerns about him long term. When he played in those England games, he looked great, didn't he? And that was kind of like the continuation of the season. So
It's that Champions League buzz, I think, and the hangover's probably hit him a bit late than everyone else, but he'll be bang up for the Premier League season, you know, also.
I mean, obviously when I was over in America, there was quite a lot of, attention around the fact that they won the Champions League, and that Jurgen Klopp did an interview, didn't he, where he basically said, hopefully now we can put that to bed. Without saying,
new story.
And then they went off to Edinburgh, and you had Jamie Webster on the roof singing
like Slash.
It's like just like this massive lap of honour or lap of celebration of winning it all summer. And while the players have even mentioned it themselves, saying, look, it's great that we did all of this, but the moment we came back, we're focused on the new season. And I'm not sure whether, not saying Jurgen Klopp doesn't believe that, but there have been quite a lot of distractions for them. Then it has been a little bit difficult. There was kind of none of that in in Geneva against Lyon. I think the fans just were there just to watch the game, and I think they kind of appreciate that. Although it has to be said that in absolutely every single game that they played, in the build-up for about an hour. They've been showing on the big screens all the highlights from last season of them winning it. Then they've been playing all the songs, this, that and the other. So it has been a little bit difficult to get away with it. And while I understand, they won a 6th European Cup and we all celebrated it. Well, certainly I did. And you were there as well, yes, of course, yeah. We celebrated it, and I'm sure everybody else did as well.
I'm excited about a podcast.
You couldn't even speak when we did the podcast after that game.
In Madrid, paying €20 for the double.
I actually couldn't talk.
Anyway, the players, it has been a little bit difficult for them to crack on, and you've seen all the old stories of the old Liverpool teams where they'd come in for the start of pre-season and they'd go like, here's your medals. They'd throw them at them and say, right, forget them. Let's get on with it. And I think Jurgen Klopp, while he appreciates that they want to celebrate the achievement, especially him, because he's obviously lost his last 6 finals and he's put his name in Anfield history, that he's thinking, okay, it's a difficult summer because of all these players who are missing. We just want to get on with it. And I think you haven't really seen City talking about winning the Premier League loads, have you?
No.
You haven't seen, and I know they won it the season before, so it's a little bit different. But City will be business as usual. And I think Liverpool are going to have to beat, and they're going to have to show that on Sunday.
I think they're going to have to put up with that for an extra game, though, when they play Norwich Friday night.
We were speaking about this, weren't we?
Yeah, it's going to be the first game at Anfield since the Wolves game in May. And it's a Friday night, so fans are going to obviously be leaving work around about 5ish, straight to booze, and they're going to be so amped up to welcome home the champions of Europe. So if Liverpool think that that's been a slight distraction off field, then it's going to be 10 times worse when Norwich visit. So that's going to be something that I'm going to have to get over, I think, next week.
I think that might be different though, mightn't it? Because I think it'll be the fans who didn't get to any of the games, haven't been to any of the games in the summer, that they'll want to say thanks basically before the game. But then they've obviously paid their money to go and watch them play in that particular game, so they won't be helping any kind of distraction. They'll just want to get Liverpool focused on beating Norwich.
Back to our team selection then. I think we need a cast and vote. Yeah, a little bit of tangent. I think we need a Matip or Gomez cast and vote from you, Doyley.
Yeah, well, I can see why Connor would like to see Gomez in, because I think long term he is the centre back who you'd like to see alongside Van Dijk. But it's difficult to leave Matip out. I was a big critic of him earlier this year, and I was a bit worried when he lined up against Bayern Munich. But he hasn't put a foot wrong. So if he's not making any mistakes, then leave him in.
Presume we're going 4-3-3. No arguments there. Gorsty, we start with you. Who's your midfield 3?
I'm going to go for Fabinho. I think he's pretty much making himself undroppable, isn't he, these days, as Liverpool's primary number 6. And then possibly Gini Wijnaldum and Jordan Henderson.
Connor, concur with those 3?
Yeah, they are the 3, aren't they? They're the 3 that you want to pick. They're the 3 you want to get in the against the best teams. They are the 3 that makes the system work when the midfielders looked a little bit overrun without them there in pre-season. When teams get a little bit on top of them, you just really realise how much they run, how much work they put in off the ball, how much Liverpool really need those 3 in the midfield. And yeah, they are my 3 too.
Curveball from Doyle?
I think
Naby Keita with a shout.
Well, no.
Yeah,
I was actually going to say I wouldn't be surprised if Lallana plays instead of Fabinho.
Really? Yeah.
Not that I'm not saying that should happen, but there's just something. I think there aren't many games where they're going to be able to try that. And if this isn't, it's still okay. It's a proper game, but it's not quite the biggest. It won't be the biggest game Liverpool play this season. Let's put it that way. I wouldn't be surprised, but otherwise, personally, I'd have Fabinho and Henderson, and I don't know. You see, I don't think Keita and Shaqiri are quite ready yet, so you would have to go Wijnaldum, yeah.
Milner?
Okay. No. He can come on second half. He likes playing against City.
With Harry Wilson as well?
Yeah, they'll be there, yeah.
Okay.
Unless I say Harry Wilson's going to start. You'll find out in a second.
Right, back around this way. your front 3?
Yeah, Harry Wilson's not starting. It'll be a Origi on the left. I don't know, actually. No, I don't think he's going to play. No, right, I'm going back. I think Harry Wilson is going to start, yeah. Oh, can he? I don't know. This is not confused me. Who plays for Liverpool again?
Origi's starting on left for me. Yeah. Firmino and Salah are going to start too, because I think they looked sharp. Firmino's goal against Lyon was really good, and Salah kept cutting him from the inside, and he looked every bit the player that left last season. So yeah, they are my 3.
Yeah, Salah on the right. I don't really like to see him anywhere else. Firmino is the 9, and Divock Origi on the left.
2 for Divock.
That's the obvious team, but I'm trying to think whether or not he'll do something a bit daft because basically Firmino and Salah aren't lasting the full game. No chance.
Yeah.
And they may even get subbed at half time. So it's whether he brings them on in the second half rather than plays them in the first.
When he makes 2 of his regulation 3 subs or one of his 11.
Well, we were surprised at the Lyon game because we knew that they were all going to feature at some point, but then they all started. And then obviously after half an hour, Firmino
really
goes off. Yeah, exactly, yeah. So you can't do that. Now I'm going to have Harry Wilson starting. Harry Wilson starts, Origi on the left and Firmino up top. Leave Salah for the second half.
Interesting.
Excellent. Right. Well, we got there in the end. They are your Reds to take on City. And we'll leave it there. We'll be back on Monday where hopefully we're reflecting on Liverpool getting the first trophy of the season in the bag. See you then.